Emma is an ordinary woman living with her husband, Mike, and their son. Her life seems perfect until one day she accidentally sees Mike holding hands with another woman, Veronica. This marks the beginning of her personal tragedy. Emma learns that Veronica is Mike's former love and that their relationship continued even after he got married. Heartbroken and betrayed, Emma struggles to cope with the pain, but jealousy and anger consume her. She resolves to expose the truth to Veronica's husband, hoping it will bring her relief. Yet, even after taking this drastic step, she finds no peace. Her life becomes a relentless battle between the desire to forgive Mike and the constant grip of suspicion. Can Emma rebuild trust in her marriage, or will her jealousy destroy her from within? A poignant tale of betrayal, pain, and the arduous journey toward forgiveness, sure to leave no one unmoved. Emma was moving through the aisles of the store, adjusting items on the shelves. Each step felt impossibly heavy, as though her legs were weighed down by lead. She knew she wouldn't last until the end of her shift. That morning, she'd woken up feeling slightly unwell but dismissed it as lack of sleep. "I'll feel better by lunch," she tried convincing herself, but the symptoms only worsened. Her head throbbed, her body ached, and her throat burned. Asking to leave early seemed awkward, so she resolved to push through until the end of her shift. As Emma made her way to lunch, the store manager stopped her. The woman gave Emma a concerned look, scanning her from head to toe. With a frown she asked, "Emma, are you feeling all right? You don't look well." Quickly placing a hand on Emma's forehead, she recoiled slightly, exclaiming, "You're burning up. Why didn't you say you were sick? Why even come in like this?" Blushing with embarrassment, Emma mumbled, I didn't think it was that bad." "Not that bad," the manager interrupted. "Go home. Take care of yourself. Don't bother coming in tomorrow either. I'll find someone to cover for you. No need to spread this around to everyone." Feeling drained and defeated, Emma left work. She pulled out her phone and tried calling her husband, but he didn't pick up. All she wanted was to go home, crawl under a warm blanket, and sleep. But there were no medicines or food at home. Recently, she had gone through the first aid kit and thrown out almost everything that had expired. Deciding to walk a little, Emma headed to the nearest pharmacy, located just 5 minutes away in the shopping mall. After buying the essentials, she thought of stopping by the supermarket. "My husband and son will be home tonight, and there's nothing for dinner," she reasoned. However, the supermarket trip didn't go as planned. She ended up filling a cart to the brim. Chastising herself for her frugal habits, Emma packed the groceries into bags, her hands trembling from weakness. Dragging the heavy bags, she slowly made her way toward the escalator. "I need to get out of here before I remember something else to buy," she thought. Reaching the top and almost at the exit, Emma suddenly stopped. Through the glass doors of the mall, she spotted a hauntingly familiar figure outside. "Is that Mike? That's definitely him. His pants, his jacket," raced through her mind. She tried to get a better look, but her view was blocked by a large man walking in front of her. Emma quickened her pace. She had to catch up with her husband and have him take her home. Suddenly, the man blocking her view stepped aside, and Emma almost dropped her bags in shock. Her husband was holding hands with another woman. "What the hell? Who is that? Could Mike be cheating on me? That's impossible," she thought, placing her bags on the ground. She could no longer hold them, nor could she bring herself to move forward. Emma hesitated. Should I catch up to him and demand an explanation? Surely, there has to be some reasonable explanation. She took out her phone and called her husband. As the ringtone began, he glanced at his phone, dismissed the call, and placed it back into his pocket. Then, he let go of the woman's hand and pulled her closer by the waist. There was no longer any doubt in Emma's mind. This was his lover. A wave of heat rushed over her as her heart pounded furiously, echoing in her temples. Blood surged to her face, making it unbearably suffocating. She wanted to throw those bags, scream, and claw at herself out of anger, pain, and humiliation. How could he? What did he lack? She imagined catching up to him and slapping him across the face in front of everyone. Instead, she dragged herself to a bench and collapsed onto it in exhaustion. Emma didn't want her husband to see her like this, pathetic, ill, teetering on the brink of hysteria. With trembling hands, she called for a taxi. She had seen it all. Witnessed it with her own eyes. Seen how he embraced that beautiful woman. Yes, beautiful. Seen how he ushered her into their car. How he quickly circled the vehicle, opened the passenger door, and offered his hand to her. He never did that for me, Emma thought bitterly. Then, the car slowly pulled out of the parking lot and drove away, heading in the opposite direction of Mike's office. Emma was in a daze. She vaguely remembered the taxi ride, climbing the stairs, and entering the apartment. When she woke up, she saw a thermometer and a packet of acetaminophen on the nightstand. Looks like I took my temperature and some pills, she thought, picking up the thermometer. 103.4 degrees Fahrenheit. No wonder I felt so awful. She placed the thermometer back under her arm, sank into her pillow, and the memories flooded back. Mike, the lover. Or maybe it was just a dream. Perhaps her husband was still at work, oblivious to her torment. Oh, how she wished that were true. Her fever had gone down slightly but was still high. She took another pill and fell back asleep. Waking up a few hours later, Emma felt physically better but emotionally drained. Soaked through her t-shirt, she got out of bed and looked at herself in the mirror. Her face was swollen from crying, her eyes reduced to slits. Gorgeous, she thought with bitter irony. Her son was due to return any moment now, and Emma least wanted him to see her like this. How would she explain the reason for her tears? And most importantly, how to move forward? Who was that woman in the parking lot? There were many questions and no answers. Suddenly, an idea struck Emma. Sarah. She could help. Sarah was Mike's younger sister, only a year apart in age. They had been close since childhood, and Sarah knew absolutely everything about Mike. Emma hastily changed and ordered another taxi. Sarah worked remotely, so she was almost always home. Opening the door and seeing Emma standing there, Sarah smiled. She was always happy to see her brother's wife. But upon taking a closer look and noticing Emma's state, her smile quickly turned to concern. Emma, what happened? Who hurt you? Hi, Sarah. I really need to talk to you. Alone, if possible. Of course, come in. I'm alone. My husband's at work. Emma, wait. Have you been crying? Emma didn't waste any time. She decided to ask the question outright, ensuring Sarah wouldn't have a chance to evade it. She blurted out. Sarah, I know everything. I know Mike has a mistress. And I know that you're aware of it. Deep down, Emma desperately hoped Sarah would start denying it, insisting it wasn't true. But Mike's sister gave her a strange look, then averted her eyes, sighed heavily and replied. Let's go to the kitchen. I'll make some tea. This conversation isn't going to be easy. Sarah led Emma to the kitchen and with another deep sigh, sat down on a chair. Emma remained standing, as though afraid that if she sat down, she'd never find the strength to get up again. Her hands trembled, and her eyes burned with a mix of pain and anger. Don't drag it out, Emma whispered, barely holding back tears. Sarah exhaled deeply again and began. Emma, what do you want me to say? Yes, I know everything. I've known from the start. Mike and Veronica have known each other for a very long time. Even before your wedding. She was Mike's first love. He dated her before you and was absolutely infatuated with her. Then they had a falling out. At the time, I thought they'd reconcile. You know, these things happen. But it turned out to be much more serious. Soon after, we found out Veronica had gotten married. And then Mike met you. Emma, you remember, don't you? You two barely dated, a few months, and he proposed to you immediately. But even so, you lived wonderfully together. Honestly, I don't understand why they rekindled their relationship. As far as I know, Veronica has a husband who absolutely adores her. And you? Well, everything seemed perfect between you two. Sarah fell silent, shrugged, and stared out the window. Emma listened intently, her hands shaking, as a storm of emotions brewed in her chest. So you're telling me Mike married me out of spite because of that? What's her name? Veronica? He never loved me. Emma whispered, choking back sobs. No, I didn't say that, and I never will, Sarah objected. How could someone live with another person for so many years without loving them? It's just not possible. Especially since you two have a wonderful son. Mike's just confused. Call it what you will. A midlife crisis, hormones. What hormones? What nonsense? Emma was nearly yelling. She couldn't stay calm. Her emotions were overwhelming. I take it this has been going on for years. How long have they been together? I mean, after we got married. I don't know, Sarah muttered, avoiding Emma's gaze. You're lying. Emma stared at her sister-in-law intensely. Sarah, I always trusted you, considered you a friend. And you've been deceiving me for years, covering for your brother. At least have the decency to be honest now. I can't say for sure, Sarah replied, dropping her head in defeat. But I think they reconnected when your son was about 7 years old. That's when he started first grade. Fantastic, Emma laughed hysterically. And he's 13 now, isn't he? So, they've been together for 6 years? 6 years of lies and deceit. Well, thanks for not lying to me this time. Emma left Sarah's place and trudged home. She didn't want to call a cab. The walk was about 40 minutes, but she wasn't in a hurry. She needed the fresh air to clear her head and try to piece her thoughts together. She had no idea what she'd say to her husband when he came home. There was so much she wanted to confront him with, but her thoughts were scattered, impossible to organize. When she got home, Mike wasn't there. After feeding her son, she sat by the window with a cup of hot cocoa. The evening grew darker, but there was still no sign of him. Every carefully rehearsed word she'd planned dissolved into a raw, searing ache of betrayal. She and her son had already gone to bed when the front door lock clicked in the hallway. Emma jolted awake as if stung and walked briskly toward the foyer. She was about to open her mouth when Mike stopped her with a gesture and said, I know you found out. Sarah called me. Emma, let's skip the hysterics, the yelling, and everything else. We're adults, after all. These things happen. That's all you have to say to me? Emma whispered, feeling tears well up. Mike stood in silence, avoiding her gaze. His eyes showed guilt, but there was no remorse. Emma realized the conversation would be long, and it might forever change their lives. She was in shock. Her head was spinning, her heart pounding as if trying to burst out of her chest. She stared at Mike, unable to believe what she was hearing. And what do you want me to hear from you? I'm sorry? Emma asked bitterly. Mike, you've been cheating on me for 6 years. 6 years of lies. And not only that, it's with your ex. You married me out of spite for her. That's not true, Mike interrupted. I married you because I really liked you. I wanted to believe that with your help, I could forget Veronica. And how did that work out? Emma smirked bitterly. Didn't succeed? I guess I wasn't good enough to replace your precious Veronica. No, that's not it, Mike shrugged. Everything was going great. I didn't think about her for a long time, until I ran into her by chance. How it all started again, I still don't understand. It's like some kind of obsession. Every time I tell myself it's the last meeting, that there won't be anything more. But I'm drawn to her, like a magnet. You understand? I can't help myself. Shut up, Emma hissed through clenched teeth. Stop talking. I don't want to hear it. She closed her eyes and covered her ears with her hands. I don't want to see you either. Leave. Get out of here. I'm filing for divorce tomorrow. Yes, I think that would be best for both of us, Mike replied calmly. The only thing I ask is that you don't turn our son against me. Don't use him as a pawn. He's old enough and smart enough to make his own decisions. I'll still see him, and you won't be able to stop me. You know, Emma whispered, I'm not as petty as you think. But I won't hide the fact that I'd be glad if Max decided on his own not to talk to you. What kind of example can you set for him? Emma wanted to hurt her husband as much as possible. She hadn't expected him to accept their separation so easily, without giving her the chance to fully vent her emotions. We'll figure it out, Mike muttered and left. Just like that. As if he hadn't lived here for so many years. As if he'd just stopped by for a minute and walked out, Emma thought bitterly. That night, Emma couldn't sleep. Nor could she in the nights that followed. Insomnia and constant headaches plagued her. Her body felt broken, and life had lost all meaning. If not for her son, she couldn't imagine how it all might have ended. She met him after school, cooked lunch and dinner, helped with homework. But it was all done on autopilot. She was simply fulfilling her duties as a mother. A week passed in this routine. Emma often caught herself waiting for Mike to show up. After all, he had promised to visit their son. In the evenings, she kept glancing at the clock, and when his workday ended, She'd look out the window at the parking lot, wondering if his car had arrived. When it got late and she realized he wouldn't be coming that day, she'd go to bed. But instead of sleeping, she'd cry into her pillow. About a week and a half later, Mike appeared at the apartment door for the first time. He didn't use his key to let himself in. Instead, he rang the doorbell and waited for someone to open it. Emma was taken by surprise when she saw him. Her cheeks flushed with emotion, and her hands trembled. "I'm here to see Max. Is that all right?" Mike asked cautiously, avoiding eye contact with his wife. Emma didn't reply. She simply stepped aside, allowing him to enter. He went straight to his son's room and spent the entire evening there. Not a single word was exchanged between him and Emma. She sat quietly in the kitchen, listening intently. She couldn't help but savor the sound of his voice coming from the child's room. That voice was so familiar, so dear, it made her heart ache. Mike really is such an attractive man, Emma thought involuntarily. Living side by side with him, she'd stopped noticing it. He had become ordinary to her. But now, after the separation, she saw him in a new light. The same way she had during their first meeting, when her knees felt weak, and her brain refused to function. At first, Mike visited their son once a week. But when he realized Emma was calm and not throwing fits, he began coming over more frequently. Meanwhile, Emma found Veronica's social media page. Photos, smiles, happy moments. All of it filled her with intense pain. She couldn't take her eyes off the screen, as if trying to find something in the woman that would explain why Mike couldn't let her go. "She's beautiful," Emma whispered, staring at a picture of Veronica. "But what's so special about her? What kind of magic does she have?" Emma closed the laptop, feeling tears welling up. She couldn't understand why her husband, her Mike, had been tied to this woman for so long. She compared herself to Veronica, looking for flaws within herself, but it only deepened her anguish. "No," she told herself firmly. "I can't live like this. I can't keep thinking about her. I need to do something." The next day, Emma decided to confront Mike. She couldn't remain silent anymore. That evening, when Max had gone to visit a friend, she sat across from Mike and, looking him directly in the eyes, asked, "Mike, tell me honestly, have you truly cut things off with Veronica? Are you still seeing her?" Mike sighed and placed his hand gently over hers. "Emma, I've told you before. I've ended things with her. I don't want to see her anymore. You and Max are all I need." "But how can I believe you?" Emma whispered. "How can I be sure you won't go back to her again?" "You can check my messages, my calls," Mike replied. "I'm not hiding anything from you. I want you to trust me." "Trust you?" Emma said bitterly. "Mike, you destroyed my trust. You destroyed our family. And now you want me to just forget everything." "No," Mike answered softly. "I don't want you to forget. I know I'm to blame. But I want you to give me a chance to make things right. I love you, Emma. I love our son. I want us to be a family again." Emma looked at him, feeling her heart being torn to pieces. She wanted to believe him, but the fear and pain were too overwhelming. "Mike," she finally said, "I don't know if I can ever trust you again. But I want to try. Just, please don't betray me again. Please." Mike nodded and hugged her. "I won't betray you, Emma. I promise." Yet, despite his words, Emma couldn't shake off her anxiety. She continued to check his phone, his messages, his social media accounts. She searched for any sign that he had contacted Veronica again but found nothing. One evening, while Mike was at work, Emma decided to look at Veronica's social media page once more. She didn't know why she was doing it, but she couldn't stop herself. She scrolled through the photos, read the comments, and searched for something. Anything that might ease her pain. And then she saw a new photo. Veronica was with someone. A man. Emma enlarged the image and felt her heart stop. It wasn't Mike. It was someone else. "She's found someone new," Emma whispered. "She's no longer with Mike." Emma closed her laptop and felt an unexpected sense of relief. But along with it came a pang of guilt. She realized that her obsession with Veronica was destroying her from within. She couldn't keep living in constant fear and suspicion. The next day, Emma decided to talk to Mike again. Sitting across from him, she looked him in the eyes and said, "Mike, I don't want to live in fear anymore. I don't want to keep checking your phone and your messages. I want to trust you. But I need time for that. And I need you to be honest with me. Always. Mike nodded and took her hand. I'll be honest with you, Emma. I promise. Emma felt her heart calm slightly. She knew the road to rebuilding trust would be long and difficult. But she was willing to try. For herself, for their family, for their future. Emma closed her laptop, feeling a strange sense of satisfaction. She knew her actions weren't entirely noble, but her emotions were raging beyond her control. The thought of Veronica living happily while she suffered was unbearable. Let her feel what it's like, Emma thought as she lay down to sleep. But the next day, anxiety consumed her. She began to doubt the rightness of her actions. What if Veronica's husband didn't believe her? What if he ignored her message? Or worse, what if he showed it to Veronica? Emma imagined her rival laughing at her attempt to disrupt her life. No, she told herself. I can't just wait. I need proof. He has to believe me. Emma decided to act. She started searching social media for any hints that Veronica and Mike might still be connected. She scrolled through photos, read comments, and looked for any traces. But she found nothing suspicious. So, she decided to take it further. She found Veronica's husband's phone number and, summoning her courage, sent him a message. Hello. I know this may seem strange, but I need to tell you something. Your wife, Veronica, has been having an affair with my husband for several years. I have proof. If you want, I can tell you everything. The message was sent. Emma froze, waiting for a response. Minutes felt like hours. Finally, her phone buzzed. Who are you? And what proof do you have? Veronica's husband replied. Emma's heart raced as she quickly typed her response. My name is Emma. My husband is Mike. They've been seeing each other for years, even after you got married. I have photos, messages. I can show you everything. This time, the reply came almost instantly. Let's meet. I want to see everything with my own eyes. Emma agreed. They arranged to meet at a cafe the next day. She couldn't sleep that night, her mind racing with thoughts of how it would go. What if he didn't believe her? What if he accused her of lying? The next day, Emma arrived at the cafe early. She nervously fiddled with her phone, waiting for the man she'd only seen in photographs. Finally, he appeared, tall, composed, with a cold demeanor. He sat across from Emma and, wasting no time, said, Show me the evidence. Emma took out her phone and opened the photos she had taken at the shopping mall, showing Mike and Veronica holding hands. Then, she showed the messages she had saved from her husband's phone. The man silently stared at the screen, his expression growing darker with each passing moment. Finally, he looked up at Emma and asked, Why are you telling me this only now? Emma sighed. Because I couldn't stay silent any longer. I know what it's like to live in ignorance. I thought you deserved to know the truth. He nodded. Thank you. I'll deal with this. Emma felt a wave of relief but was also overwhelmed by guilt. She knew she had shattered someone else's life, but she couldn't stop herself. It felt like the only way to cope with the pain that had been tearing her apart. When she returned home, Mike greeted her with a smile. Where were you? Just out for a walk, Emma replied, trying to sound casual. She knew her actions might have consequences, but in that moment, she didn't care. She wanted Veronica to feel at least a fraction of the pain she had endured. However, a few days later, doubt began to creep in. Emma imagined Veronica's husband confronting her with the truth, or even discussing it with Veronica. She wondered how it might affect their family. One evening, while Mike was at work, Emma received a message from Veronica's husband. I spoke to Veronica. She denies everything. But I can't believe her. Thank you for opening my eyes. Emma felt her heart tighten. She didn't know whether to feel relieved or devastated. On one hand, she had achieved her goal. On the other, she realized she had shattered someone else's family. When Mike returned home, Emma looked at him and thought, what if he finds out? What if he realizes what I've done? But Mike didn't know. He hugged her and said, I love you, Emma. We'll get through this. Emma nodded, but inside, she felt empty. Her actions hadn't brought her the relief she had hoped for. The pain and jealousy still lingered, and she didn't know how to overcome them. Maybe I made a mistake, she thought. Maybe I should have just let it go. But it was too late. Emma knew her life would never be the same. And she didn't know if she could ever forgive herself for what she had done. Emma closed her laptop, feeling a strange sense of satisfaction. She knew her actions weren't noble, but her emotions were uncontrollable. The thought of Veronica living happily while she suffered was unbearable. Let her feel what it's like, Emma thought as she lay down to sleep. The next day, however, anxiety consumed her. She began to doubt her decision. What if Veronica's husband didn't believe her? What if he ignored her message? Or worse, what if he showed it to Veronica? Emma imagined her rival laughing at her attempt to disrupt her life. No, she told herself. I can't just wait. I need proof. He has to believe me. Emma decided to act. She started searching social media for any hints that Veronica and Mike might still be connected. She scrolled through photos, read comments, and looked for any traces. But she found nothing suspicious. So, she decided to take it further. She found Veronica's husband's phone number and, summoning her courage, sent him a message. Hello. I know this may seem strange, but I need to tell you something. Your wife, Veronica, has been having an affair with my husband for several years. I have proof. If you want, I can tell you everything. The message was sent. Emma froze, anxiously waiting for a reply. Minutes dragged by like hours. Finally, her phone buzzed. Who are you? And what proof do you have? Veronica's husband wrote. Emma's heart pounded as she quickly typed her response. My name is Emma. My husband is Mike. They've been seeing each other for years, even after you got married. I have photos and messages. I can show you everything. This time, the response came almost immediately. Let's meet. I want to see everything with my own eyes. Emma agreed. They arranged to meet at a cafe the next day. That night, Emma couldn't sleep, her thoughts racing. What if he didn't believe her? What if he accused her of lying? The next day, Emma arrived at the cafe early. Nervously, she fidgeted with her phone, waiting for the man she had only seen in photographs. Finally, he appeared, tall, composed, with a cold expression. He sat across from Emma and without wasting time said, Show me the evidence. Emma retrieved her phone and showed him the photo she had taken at the mall, clearly displaying Mike and Veronica holding hands. Then, she revealed the messages she had saved from Mike's phone. The man silently stared at the screen, his face growing darker with each passing moment. Finally, he looked up at Emma and asked, Why are you telling me this only now? Emma sighed. Because I couldn't stay silent anymore. I know what it's like to live in ignorance. I thought you deserved to know the truth. He nodded. Thank you. I'll deal with this. Emma felt a wave of relief but was also overwhelmed by guilt. She knew she had destroyed someone else's life, but she couldn't stop herself. It felt like the only way to cope with the pain consuming her. When she returned home, Mike greeted her with a smile. Where were you? Just out for a walk, Emma replied, trying to sound calm. She knew her actions could have consequences, but at that moment, she didn't care. She wanted Veronica to feel even a fraction of the pain she had endured. She knew her actions might have consequences, but in that moment, it didn't matter to her. She wanted Veronica to feel even a fraction of the pain she had endured. Yet, after a few days, doubt crept in. Emma found herself imagining how Veronica's husband might have already discovered the truth, how he might have confronted Veronica by now, and how it could all impact their family. One evening, while Mike was at work, Emma received a message from Veronica's husband. I spoke with Veronica. She denies everything. But I can't believe her. Thank you for opening my eyes. Emma felt her heart tighten. She didn't know whether to feel triumphant or devastated. On one hand, she had succeeded. On the other, she realized she had torn apart another family. When Mike returned home, Emma stared at him, her thoughts swirling. What if he finds out? What if he realizes what I've done? She thought. But Mike seemed oblivious. He hugged her and said, I love you, Emma. We'll get through this. Emma nodded, but inside, she felt a hollow emptiness. Her actions hadn't brought her peace. The pain and jealousy still burned within her, and she couldn't figure out how to extinguish them. Maybe I made a mistake, she thought. Maybe I should have just let it go. But it was too late. Emma knew her life would never be the same, and she had no idea if she would ever forgive herself for what she had done.